Now, it's been a fascinating chain of events here that has played out over the last 24 hours or so. And if you've not been following along, perhaps you missed it. So I'll break it all down. I'll give you the thumbnail recap for you. It's a public service. So you have this executive VP, Troy Vincent, who played in the NFL. He's the big shot now, big kahuna at the NFL. And he angrily told the media in the middle of the poop storm that there was never, ever talk of a 5-minute warm-up period or any other time frame other than just making sure that the Bills and Bengals had proper time in the locker room. The exact quote here from Vincent, he said, "It never crossed our mind to talk about warming up to resume play. That's ridiculous. That's insensitive." Vincent scolding reporters who brought up the issue. Now, all of this was sparked by reaction to Joe Buck, the ESPN commentator now, who's doing the Monday Night Football game. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, but how about 4 times, Joe Buck on the broadcast, while there was no football going on, said the teams had been given 5 minutes to warm up. 5 minutes to warm up. And just to prove that I am not lying, as Warner Wolf would say, let's go to the audio tape. Here's Joe Buck. And this is a little vignette from the Monday night broadcast. The NFL said this did not happen, what you're about to hear, but here's Joe Buck on the broadcast.
The 2 head coaches, you can see, got together, and they'll have 5 minutes to warm up. And Troy, I mean, you played this game for the majority of your life, and then after that, you've been calling these games. First of all, I've never seen anything like this. And then, Lisa, as we said, they've been given 5 minutes to, quote-unquote, get ready to go back to playing. That's the word we get from the league and the word we get from down on the field, but nobody's moving. Then when we got the update that within 5 minutes these players were going to start playing football again, we saw Zach Taylor live walk across the field to Sean McDermott. The players were being told that they would have 5 minutes to get back ready for play, and the players were standing around. We saw Zach Taylor walk across the field and talk to Sean McDermott.
All right, so that's the audio from the Monday night feed on ESPN. But that Troy Vincent, again, he said it never crossed our mind to talk about warming up to resume play. That's ridiculous. Now, the story got even better earlier in the day on Tuesday when ESPN responded to Troy Vincent in a prepared statement by pointing out, this is a quote here, there was constant communication in real time between ESPN and game officials. As a result of that, the statement, prepared statement reads, we, meaning ESPN, reported that what we were told in the moment and immediately updated fans as new information was learned. This was an unprecedented, rapidly evolving circumstance all night long. We refrained from speculation, close quote. So you know what that means? This is right in my wheelhouse here. This is batting practice fastball. Someone is lying. Someone is lying. So let's discuss the question. It's a toss-up question. Who's telling the truth in this kerfluffle? Troy Vincent or Joe Buck? And this one's rather easy. I've got Barbershop, Foxhole, and Formulated. And we will tie all of these things together here, and we're going to make the Baba Ganoush is what we're going to make. So, any reasonable human being is going to side with our ex-Fox comrade Joe Buck. It is straightforward here. Even if you're open-minded to bending reality, there is no rational human being who's going to say, oh, yeah, the NFL, they're absolutely right. They would never say 5 minutes. This one is uncomplicated. And Joe Buck, we played the audio for you. He sounded a little bit like Abraham Lincoln. He didn't say 77 years ago, but he did state on 4 separate occasions that the players were given 5 minutes to get ready. It's honest Abe-like from Joe Buck. It's a clear situation. It's as clear as vodka is what it is here. The NFL, I'm telling you, I know people that work in that side of the broadcast business. The NFL monitors these television broadcasts on a word-by-word basis. They are very protective of their name, image, and likeness. And the fact checkers, the gatekeepers, monitor everything. Big Brother's always watching, and especially in a primetime game, an island game like a Monday night game. And at the NFL barbershop, they have a fine-tooth comb, okay, that they use here to go over everything. Intellectual rights are the end-all, be-all. Had Joe Buck spoken out of class, let me tell you what would have happened, okay? He would have been censured immediately by someone working for the NFL. And if you look at the timeline on this, and people were writing down notes, Joe Buck first mentioned resume play after 5 minutes at roughly 9:15 Eastern time. But nobody stepped in and said, hey, you made a mistake there. That's a misspeak. And he said it again and again and again. And they even showed Joe Burrow warming up on the sidelines. Hello. And so Joe Buck repeated that 5-minute thing as they were going off the air from the stadium at 10:54. So almost an hour and a half had transpired from when he originally said the 5-minute thing. And nobody stepped in from the NFL and attempted to censor that. And it gets even better. But wait, there's more. Joe Buck said that he got that information from the rules expert, John Perry, who got the information directly from the NFL. Who goofed? I've got to know. And as they say in the world of chess, and as I was told by William Shatner years ago, checkmate. Checkmate. All right, now, part 2 of this brain buster. What does the ESPN rebuttal tell us, right? What does that tell us? The rebuttal to the NFL, what does that tell us? So it initially tells you no more Mr. Nice Guy. And if you follow these kind of stories and you plow through them, all right, this is what's known as a dead giveaway. It's a dead giveaway. ESPN is a bedmate of the NFL. All right, they sleep together a couple nights a week. They're in an arranged marriage. It's a pretty nice marriage for the NFL. ESPN pays in the neighborhood of $2.6 billion with a B like Ben for the domestic broadcast rights to Monday Night Football. That package. That's a lot. That's a big package. And they lose money on it. So needless to say, the Walt Disney Company has a vested interest in looking out for the NFL and vice versa. So it's obvious that the NFL's Troy Vincent, in a CYA position, cover your own ass, wanted to use the fledgling cable channel out of Bristol, Connecticut as a fall guy. Got to have a fall guy. Have them run interference to cover for the league. It was a mistake by Joe Buck. It was an honest mistake. Shouldn't have said it. Bad job by him. But that ESPN said, no, that's dirty pool. We're not playing that. And they stood in the foxhole with Joe Buck, and they issued a counterattack. The gloves off. Squabbling ignited. And they chronicled how the messaging was coming directly from league circles. And when you juxtapose that with the very real just vibe from watching the game, Joe Buck, and he admitted this, he was really out in the deep sea. He was floating away on a pontoon boat, and there was a storm coming in here. His voice was cracking. He struggled to go off the script and say anything while this was playing out. He said his instinct was to not say anything. So when he got, the way I read it, when he got information that came from the NFL, that's when he cut loose a little bit. So he just kept repeating that. That's why he said it 4 times. But this whole thing makes Troy Vincent look like a giant bozo. Bozo the clown. All right, last word here. So let's move over to the recovery. How is the recovery going from Damar Hamlin as he continues in critical condition in a hospital in Cincinnati? The waiting game continues. The Bills issued another update on Hamlin's condition. They said he spent last night in the intensive care unit, remains there today as the condition University of Cincinnati Medical Center. And the Bills said they were grateful and thankful for the outpouring of support, blah, 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 blah. It's not really much of an update. It's a non-update update. Nothing had changed at the time the Bills set that out, From what we have read, that is pretty standard stuff. The doctors are very methodical as they follow the medical books here on how to deal with this type of injury, and it's a formulated attack, and you've got to, from what I've been reading online here, practicing medicine by reading medical websites, you keep the patient sedated until they can breathe on their own, and that doesn't happen right away. It typically takes several days, possibly a week, 10 days. I mean, it could be a long time here, and as they monitor the vitals and all that. Now, the scary part continues to be that you don't know how much damage was actually done here until the patient wakes up. So it's still very much a touch-and-go situation. It depends on how long the player, Damar Hamlin, went without oxygen getting to his brain before he was revived. And since they started CPR almost immediately, the hope is that, as we've talked about in previous episodes here, we talked about this, that the hope is that the damage was extremely limited, but you don't know what you don't know. Most likely it will be several more days before we have any kind of update on the full picture here. And I did see Hamlin's uncle, someone named Dorian Glenn. He did an interview, this guy Glenn, on CNN, and he said his nephew had to be taken back from cardiac arrest twice, resuscitated twice, according to the uncle. On the field, that's the shot when everyone on the Bills was like, oh, my God, what are we doing here? At that moment on the field, and then they brought him to the hospital, and then the second time when he got to the hospital. But the uncle says that Damar Hamlin is trending upwards in a positive way. That was at least as of a few hours ago.